Hello guys, I am Dr. Devendra Mishra, working as Assistant Professor in Chemistry at Bidla Institute of Applied Sciences, right? Also running this Tetrahedron Chemistry Classes channel, and here are the links available to approach me. Hello friends, welcome back to the Tetrahedron Chemistry Classes. So guys, in the series of the organometallic compounds, today I am going to take metal carbonyl halides, more correctly transition metal carbonyl halides. If you remember, in my last lecture of organometallic compounds, I have covered transition metal carbonyl hydrides, okay, and today I am going to take their halides. So however, these halides are not very important for the competitive examination point of view overall, right? But there are certain questions which are particularly important when it comes to the competitive examinations, whether it is CSIR net examination or the gate examination, okay. So today I'm going to take these metal halides. So first of all, metal carbonyl halides, that mean the complex would contain a metal, of course a transition metal, and carbonyl group would also be there along with the halides. And the halides, they may be chlorine, bromine, or the iodine in the form of their anion, that is the say iodides, bromides, or the chlorides, okay. So if you talk about the synthesis, right, say if you talk about the synthesis of such compounds, so generally what we do the oxidation of the metal carbonyls, right? So what is the meaning of the oxidation of the metal carbonyls? Say I am taking this particular example here. Say this is my complex, two manganese are there along with the 10 carbonyl. So it's a neutral complex, okay. The carbonyl is the neutral ligand, so oxidation state of the manganese would be 0 in that case, okay guys. And then you can react with this complex with any halide, right? Or you may take the chloride, you may take the bromide, or you may take the iodide, it doesn't matter. So it will form the complex which would be MnCO5, and the X would be there. Since you have taken two halogens here, so you'll write it 2 here, okay. Remember, your X would be your chlorine, bromine, and they may be iodine. The fluorine is actually having very high electronegativity, and see it's their electrons are not very readily available. So generally we don't take the fluorine in case of these halides, okay. The fluoride will not react. So what you are doing actually, not fluoride, actually fluorine, what you are doing, you are treating this with the bromine, iodine, or just suggest like these things, okay. So if you calculate the oxidation state in that case of this manganese, it would be +1, okay, since this is this halide is actually -1, having the -1 charge, okay. So I'm not going to actually calculate the oxidation state. This I have explained many times in my coordination chemistry lecture as well as in this organometallic series, okay. So the important thing is that if you count the total electron of this species, if you make a fragment of this and count the total electron, so it would be a 16 electron species. Remember, it would be a 16 electron species. And here if you count the electron of these, then it would be the 18 electron species. So in that case, see, it is going from 0 to 1, and it is also changing the total number of the electrons. So here 18 electron systems are more stable, that's why this reaction is feasible, okay. And if you want to know the mechanism of this reaction, then it's quite easy. What you can do, you can write 5 of carbonyl along with the 1 manganese, and you can form one metal-metal bond, and then you can take this part, and what you can do, you can say react this with bromine, and when you react with this bromine, then it will result in a complex CO 5 times and a manganese here, and another manganese you can write here, and again your 5 carbonyls are there. And what you can do, you can make a bridge between two manganese, right? In that case you can write in that manner. So this compound actually would result. And remember one thing, if you want to count the electron of them, I am saying that it is actually the 18 electron system, right? If it is forming this binary kind of the complex, which I have shown here actually. So more correctly, say I should have write actually a 2 over there, okay, but it doesn't matter. You can correct this thing by your own. And when your Br your halogen is actually the bridged one, it will contribute 3 electrons. Okay, so this bromine will give 1.5 electron contribution to this manganese and 1.5 electron contribution to this manganese. Okay, similarly this bromine will also contribute 1.5. So it is giving 3 electron, it is also giving the 3 electron. It is very important when your halogen, when your halogen is in the bridged mode, that means it is forming the bridge between the two compounds. Okay, then what would happen in that case? Actually it will contribute 3 electrons. So this is something very important, right? If you want to actually calculate the total number of the electrons in it, then it's very easy. See guys, I can write here because it is the oxidation process which is going on. That means manganese is in +1 oxidation state, and you know the manganese actually contributes 7 electrons, but in +1 oxidation state it will give only 6 electron. 5 carbonyls are there. You know 5 carbonyl means 1 carbonyl actually contributes 2 electron, so 5 will contribute 10, and then you can write your Br negative, right? And your Br negative will give you the 2 electron. So don't confuse, I have written 3 here, right? But I am taking the fragment of the particular one, right? I am taking the fragment, so it will contribute only 1. Okay, sorry, it will contribute only 2 electron. So when if you count the total number of the electrons, so 5 2s are 10, 10 6 16 to 18, right? This is the method of counting the electron, right? When I am taking the one fragment of this one, that means only this particular part. See, I am taking CO5 Mn, this part actually fragment, then it is 18 electron system, otherwise it will contribute 3. Okay, and one very important point which I would like to mention here in that case. See what will happen in that case when you form this carbonyl halide, right? So this point is very important, so I'll write here in that case. You know, this is the manganese and this is your halogen. Okay, and then you are having your 5 carbonyls, right? 5 carbonyls are there, and you know this bromine is actually what? This is electronegative, so it will suck the electron density towards itself, making this manganese electron deficient, right? When this manganese becomes, or this metal becomes electron deficient, that mean then in that case actually back bonding would not be possible. Okay, when the back bonding is not possible, right? So what will happen actually, this carbonyl stretching actually in the IR spectrum will give you the higher value of the wave number. So it is very important to note that whenever you are actually forming your halides, then that means these halides actually will give higher CO bond stretching. So CO stretching means, see, carbonyl is there, right? And see, I'm writing in that manner. Okay, and manganese is here and your halogen is here, right? So when it will suck the electron density towards itself, this is electron deficient, so it cannot actually donate electron here. So it is having the single bond character, right? And obviously it will have the triple bond character, so the CO stretching would be higher for this one, higher CO stretching in IR spectrum. This is important, very important, which you should remember always. So this was the first reaction actually which I was discussing, and now the number 2. Say I'm taking next next kind of how other method by which we can prepare. So this was actually the binuclear compound. And if you take this kind of compound, say you are having pentacarbonyl iron. Okay, pentacarbonyl iron, and this pentacarbonyl iron actually when reacts with the bromine, okay, so it will result in FeBr2CO4. Okay guys, so this is the important important preparation. Why important preparation? See, iron actually in that case you can see iron contribute actually 8 electrons, so its contribution would be 8, and 5 carbonyl will contribute 10 electrons, so it's a 18 electron system. And here if you count the electron of this one, and again see iron now in that case in +2 oxidation state. Okay, so that's why it is 0, it is +2, it is oxidation. Okay, and iron now will contribute only 6 electron, fine, because it is in +2 oxidation state. and your Br are there. So then you will have your, say, two Br are there. So one Br will contribute actually 2. So 2 will contribute 4. Okay. And 4 carbonyl will contribute 8. 6, 4, 10 plus 8, 18 electron system. So it is going from 18 electron system to 18 electron system, while in the earlier case it was going from the 16 electron system to 18 electron system. And the important thing is that you should know the structure of these compounds, right? So how you can write the structure? Say for example, you are having this particular complex. Say you can put your iron in that case, right? And remember the structure actually which generally the scientists find, it is just like that. Your iodine actually are present at 90-degree angle. Okay, so this is your CO, this is another CO, and this is another CO, and this is another CO. Okay, so this is the structure. Okay, so you can see the clear difference between the two structure. Here it will contribute 2 electrons. Okay, halogen will contribute 2 electrons, but in that case when it is bridged, it will contribute 3 electrons. You should know this particular phenomenon. Okay, and then another method you can take. See guys, there are various methods, and this halide topic is particularly important for the MSc students. Generally actually these reactions are quite difficult to find for the students actually which who don't have much facilities of the literature or the library. That's why I'm writing these reactions here. Say for example, you are having FeI2. Okay, and your FeI2, but you can actually react with this 4 of the carbonyl, and when you react with this 4 carbonyl, then it will have Fe, CO4, okay, and I2. So this is the complex actually which you are having. So here you can see iron is in +2 oxidation state. Here also iron is in +2 oxidation state. So it is not a kind of the oxidation reaction, right? And one point which is very important, because generally the students have confusion actually which reaction will use for the preparation of the halides. So I'm giving you the trick. So say this is the manganese. You know the manganese group is what? Mn, Tc, tactinium, right? And then rhenium. So when manganese can form such kind of the complexes in this form, then your Tc and Re can also form such kind of the complexes. However, see, I didn't find the example of the Tc, but rhenium examples are there. Similarly, if you are preparing with this Fe, then when Fe is doing this kind of reaction, then definitely you know the group of the Fe. Here you can write Fe, then your ruthenium, then your osmium. Okay, so when Fe can do this kind of the reaction, then definitely your ruthenium can also do this kind of the reaction. However, see, I found various examples of the ruthenium, but I didn't find any example of the osmium. So this is the problem with the transition metal organometallic compounds. Not all transition metals actually can form the organometallic compounds, halides, transition metal carbonyl halides, but few of them. But you can take this trick where if one is forming this kind of the compound, then their member will also form such kind of the compound. Okay, so this is one way by which you can identify whether the reaction will give the product or not. And say if you are having this next reaction, say I am having, so what I can do, I can write this reaction. Say I am having this platinum, okay, in dichloroform. Okay, so what you can do, you can react this with 2 of the carbonyl, and it readily actually dimerizes. Okay, and it will give you PT, CO, Cl2. Okay, and obviously they are 2 types. Actually they are dimeric. The compound is dimeric in nature. Again, you can remember this thing, when platinum actually is forming this kind of the compound, then the member of the platinums, right? See, you know, nickel is there. After nickel, palladium is there, then platinum is there. When platinum is forming this kind of the compound, then obviously your palladium will also form this kind of compound. So does your nickel. Okay, so this is the way by which you can remember the things. Actually, I have made a trick to remember this transition metal series, right? You can go through my you can go through my channel, type your trick to remember transition metal series by tetrahedron chemistry classes in YouTube, then you will get the link app. Okay, so this is how you can write. And see, always I'm talking about the structures of these compounds. Say I have made this particular structure for this, right? Similarly, you can make the structure for this one, replacing 2 bromine from here to here. If you want to know the structure of this particular complex, then what you can do, you can write 1 platinum here and another platinum here and 2 chlorine. You can write in that manner. They are forming the bridge. Okay, they are forming the bridge, but 2 2s are 4, total 4 chlorines are there. So what you can do, 1 chlorine you can give to this one chlorine you can give to say this one, right? And you can put 1 CO here and you can put another CO here, and you can find the structure of this compound. Okay, so this is how you can write. So there are various preparatory various methods by which you can prepare these types of the complexes. Okay, and then say another method, say reaction number 5, say I'm saying, and say I'm writing the reaction in this way. Say this is my manganese along with the Br, already the halogen is there. Okay, and you are having this 5 carbonyl. So I'm preparing with manganese. So what will happen, actually, we can take 2 of these, right, and they will readily dimerize. Mn Br CO4 whole twice. However, I didn't mention the conditions here, reaction conditions here. There should be some conditions. Okay, but I didn't write those conditions here. And now it is very easy to draw the structure. 2 bromine are there. Okay, if you want to write the structure, so just like that you can write in that manner, right? So structure actually I have already made here. Okay, what I did, I actually wrote this 2 times, actually not 2 times. This was 4 and this was 5. Okay, 2 4s are 8 and here 2 5s are 10. Definitely 2 of the CO will remove from here. So okay, just like that. So these 2 complexes are not same, actually they are different one. Okay, how, what you can do, you can make the bridge between the 2 manganese with the help of these bromine, and you can add 4 carbonyl to each of the manganese. Okay, this is how you can write. Okay, and remember, when this manganese is forming this particular complex, then other members can also form. Okay, and finally, if you not finally, actually there are various reactions. Say reaction number 6. Say if you have heavy metal, right? Heavy metal means, say if you have gold. Say if you have the gold chloride, so already gold is in +3 oxidation state. What you can do, you can react this with react this gold chloride with this carbonyl. Of course, certain reaction conditions are there, like C2Cl4 tetrachloroethane, which is a solvent. Okay, and at high temperature, actually 200 degrees centigrade, and of course pressure is also there. Then it will result into this gold carbonyl chloride. So this is the another way of producing this particular these complexes, actually. Okay, so this is how you can prepare them. And after that, I'm going to discuss 2 very important complexes, and these 2 complexes are particularly important for your examination point of view, very important. So be careful, right, guys, because these are very important, right? So synthesis of the VASCA complex, VASAKA, VASCA complex. Okay, VASAKA or VASCAS, or more correctly VASAKAS, VASCAS complex. Doesn't matter, you can write in any way. Okay, so how we can prepare this VASCA complex, this is very important. And see, however, in the upcoming lectures I'll take all the properties and the reactions of these special types of the complexes, like VASCA complex, right? As I discussed your Coleman reagent in my earlier lecture. I'll also discuss the ferrocene and various types of the compounds separately, but for time being you can notice in that manner how we can prepare the VASCA complex. So this was your synthesis number 7. So I can write 7 here. Okay, point number 7, it's easy. Say you are having your iridium chloride. IrCl3. And I hope you must be aware about the structure of the Vasquez complex. It is very, very important. Okay. And then you are having, say, water molecule. It's a salt, hydrated salt. Okay. And what you can do, you can put some ligand to it. Okay. And of course, you will provide the atmosphere of the carbon monoxide. And then it will result your IrCO whole twice, and one of the chlorine would here along with the ligand. Special ligand you will actually give here. So what kind of the ligands you can give? You can actually take different kinds of the ligands, like see, toluidine. You can take the toluidine, paratoluidine you can take. So L is generally your this compound. Okay, CH3 NH2, toluidine. Okay, so this ligand is this kind of. So there would be some logical reasoning to put that this particular ligand here, but I actually didn't find the exact explanation. Maybe it becomes a good leaving group after when you want to prepare the Vasca complex. That's why this is taken here actually. Okay, so this compound is just like that, and after that what you can do, right? Once it is formed, you can react this with your triphenyl phosphine. So this is phosphorus, this is 3-phenyl. Okay, so I'm not going to discuss the structure of triphenyl phosphine in the detail. However, I discussed all these structures in detail earlier. Okay, so two of them I'll take, and this will result in this particular compound, say iridium, along with the carbonyl and one chlorine here, and my PPH3 2 times. Okay, and along with this particular ligand. Okay, say this is the complex. So now see, earlier you are having 2 carbonyl, now you are having only 1 carbonyl. Obviously 1 carbonyl will remove from here, and if you heat this compound, somewhere around 75 to 80 degrees centigrade, so what will happen, that ligand will actually gone from here, and it will result into the Vasquez complex, right? So Vasquez complex is what? IrCO Cl PPH3 whole twice. Okay, so this is your Vasquez complex, and remember it's a square planar complex. Okay, and it's trans in nature. So you should know the structure of that this Vasquez complex, and this Vasquez complex is very, very important. Why this Vasquez complex is very, very important? Because this actually this Vasquez complex is known to bind with the oxygen reversibly. So it will react with the oxygen, and then you can break this particular complex of the oxygen. So this Vasquez complex actually can react with the oxygen. Okay, it can also react with the hydrogen, it can also react with the hydrogen chloride, it can also react with the RX, right? So if you treat this Vasquez complex with this one, you can have the variety of the compounds. And remember, this Vasquez complex is what? It's square planar in nature. Its structure is square planar with trans geometry. So what is the meaning of the trans geometry? These two triphenyl phosphine, one would be below the plane and one would be above the plane. In one of my earlier lecture, I have explained the structure in the detail. Okay, and then you can take another example to prepare this Vasquez complex. Very important, very, very important. Say number 8. Say I am having this salt, this sodium salt, like Na2 IrCl6. Okay, and if I want to prepare Vasquez complex from this, so you know, in the Vasquez complex I need carbonyl, so you can put carbonyl here. I need 2 triphenyl phosphine, so you can write PPH3, of course 2 times, right? And ethylene glycol you can take as solvent, ethylene glycol. Okay, and then it will result into the Vasquez complex, VASAKA as Vasquez complex. So now I'm not going to draw the structure or write the molecular formula again and again. So this is particularly important. Okay guys, and then after that some other example we can take here. Say my problem number 9 is here, and what I am going to discuss here, see, I have prepared the compound with the iron, and I told you when iron is doing such kind of the reaction to form the halides, transition metal carbonyl halides, then definitely this ruthenium will also do such kind of the reaction. So how you can write the reaction? It's very easy, guys. Say I'm having pentacarbonyl ruthenium, just like your iron case. You can see here I have taken FeCO5. Okay, so now I am taking the RuCO5, and this reaction is very special, because in that case we generally take the fluorine, which generally we don't take in the synthesis of transition metal carbonyl halides, but in that case we can take this, and 4 of fluorine are required. That means obviously stoichiometric coefficient would be 4 here, and it will result in a tetramer. Actually it will form a tetramer, that is RuCO3 F2, and it will result in the tetramer. This is something very important which you should remember, which you should keep in mind rather. Okay, so if you want to draw the structure of this one, so how we can draw the structure? So what you can do, say I'm writing here, put one ruthenium here and another ruthenium here and next ruthenium here and the fourth ruthenium here. Okay, and in between the two rutheniums place your one fluorine. Okay, and connect them all. However, my drawing is not very good, but you can understand in that manner. Okay, now focus on this ruthenium. It will have one fluorine again. Okay, along with the one fluorine it will have the 3 carbonyls, CO, 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 and this pattern actually will repeat for all the ruthenium. Okay, so one fluorine you can put in that manner, both going in the same direction, and then you can put here 3 carbonyls. Similarly you can do for this one. Here fluorine actually is going in that manner, and these are the 3 carbonyls which you can put here. Okay guys, and then this is the last one. Fluorine you can write in that manner, and then your carbonyls. So this is the complex actually, tetramer, right? It's a tetramer, remember, it's a tetramer. So it is not forming only dimer, it is also forming the tetramer, right? And it is also forming the monomer kind of the complexes. Again, this is very important. And similarly guys, this ruthenium can also form the bridged compound. See, if you want to know the structure of some bridged compound of the ruthenium, I can draw the one of the structure here. Say you are having RuBr2 CO3 whole twice. So dimer I am going to prepare here. So what would be the structure of the dimer? This dimer, this is ruthenium. Okay, this is another ruthenium, and you can put one bromine here, you can put one bromine here and connect them in this manner. Okay, and one bromine you can put here and another bromine you can put here, because 2 2s are 4, 4 Br are there, 1 2 3 4. I have done with the 4. Now 3 2s are 6, so 2 each, right? Or not 2 actually, 3 each. So CO, 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 and then here CO, CO and CO. So you should also know how to draw the structure of these complexes. So these are the certain things which are very important for this compound, for these compounds actually. Okay, and see one or two very more important synthetic reaction. Say how actually these these compounds can undergo in the substitution reaction, right? See, generally what happens actually, when you put certain important ligands, then these compounds also actually breaks. So however I can discuss these properties in in another manner also, but I am including this in this synthesis part only. Okay, so dimeric carbonyl halides like see, this is dimeric carbonyl halide. Okay, so like if you have the certain ligands, like if you have the pyridine, okay, and if you have your isocyanide, alkyl isocyanide, then this dimers actually will cleave to give the monomer actually. So how you can write the structure? Say for example, I'm having this one. Say my manganese is here and another manganese is here, and two of the I are forming bridge in that manner. Okay, and you are having 4 of carbonyl here and 4 of carbonyl here in that manner. Okay, and if you put certain ligands, like if you have the 2 of the pyridine, so this dimer actually will cleave and you will have this compound Mn. This pyridine would be here, one of the iodine, one of the I actually, one of the carbonyl, not I actually, one of, sorry, not carbonyl, one of the I actually will substituted by this pyridine, and you will have this carbonyl you can add here, this carbonyl you can add here, this carbonyl you can add here, this carbonyl you can add here. So this is one compound which you can prepare. Okay, so 2 times because dimer is there. Okay, and after that if you heat this compound, say if you put plus pyridine again, right, or more correctly 2 pyridine if you put here, so the compound that will result is what? Manganese, pyridine over there and pyridine over there, I here, and 3 of the carbonyls, CO, CO and CO. So this is another very important property. See guys, it is very important to note that, see, certain compounds actually are very important for the examination point of view, and the problem with the organometallic chemistry and coordination chemistry is that you have to mug out various things, right? And if you see, there are things which you have to mug out actually, and then I can discuss one more important reaction. Say minus reaction, I forgot what is the number. Say I have this dimer again, Mn2 CO 10 times, okay, and then I am having 2 of Et4 along with this salt, right? It's actually the tetramine salt actually. And you can react this compound, and what will happen when these two reacts? 2 of the carbonyls knocked out from here, right, along with your 2 of Et4N positive, right? You can write in that manner. So it will give you manganese, another manganese connect with this one, X with this one, X with this one, and you know the 4 carbonyls would be there. And of course there should be 2 negative over there because you are removing 2 positive from here. So this is another very important another very important preparative methods. Okay, so these are the synthesis of your transition metal carbonyl halides. Now I am going to discuss the properties, right? Very important properties I will discuss here. So I am writing properties here. Okay, so for properties you should know, generally they are the yellow or the white color crystals and soluble in the organic solvents, not in the water. Okay, but they decompose in the water. Fine. And generally they follow the 18 electron rules. Generally they follow 18 electron rules, but you have also prepared Vaska complex, right? This Vaska complex we have prepared, which is 16 electron system. So it is not necessary that your transition metal carbonyl halides will always be the 18 electron system. They may be the 18 electron system and they may be the 16 electron system, right? You may take this, see, Vaska complex is one example, and another you can take this rhodium complex, which is CO whole twice Cl, and it is forming a dimer 2. It is also a 16 electron system along with the Vaska's complex. Okay, so these are the few properties, right? And then the important thing, the stability of these complexes, right? So some important point actually which I am going to discuss here. Say if you have different metals like your palladium, like your platinum, right? You may also have say copper if it is forming, you may have gold, silver, sorry, you may have the gold. See, if you have the different metals, then in that case their transition metal carbonyl chlorides, transition metal carbonyl chlorides, they would be more stable than your transition metal carbonyl bromides, and iodides would be less stable, right? So I'm writing TMCI negative. So this is the stability order when you have the different metal present in them, right? This is something very important. But if you have the common metals, right? If you have the common metals in the complexes, right? Say for example all having platinum, or all having palladium, or all having copper, or all having some other things, right? So in that case actually the stability order actually reverses. So in that case iodides would be most stable, followed by the bromides, and then your chlorides, right? So when different metals are there, then the stability order would be something different. And when your common metals are there to form the transition metal carbonyl halides, then the order would be different. However, what is the reason behind them? Not very clear. See, somewhere actually the electronegativity or the capacity of your sigma donating or the pi acceptor ligand will actually decide the stability of such compounds. Say for example, I'm writing unstable here, unstable compound, and say here I am writing some stable compounds. Say for example, I'm having this CO4I. So this compound is unstable, neutral one. Similarly, if you have this nickel, so however I didn't discuss the compound of the nickel in the preparative method, but I have explained the platinum and the palladium case. So when the palladium and platinum can form such compounds, then of course the nickel will also do the same thing. Okay, and then you are having the three carbonyls here. Say X negative I am writing here. I am generalizing it. So it is negative. And similarly, if you have this Ni and then CO2X2, so of course 2 negative would be there. So these are the some unstable compounds. Now why they are unstable? Why they are unstable? This is very important to understand. Say generally if you have your halide ions, no? So they form the sigma bond. First of all, they form the sigma bond. Okay, and say they are also electronegative. Electronegative. Right? So when they are electronegative, what they will do, they will suck the electron density and making this these metals deficient in the electron density. So what will happen when this metal actually will not have any kind of the electron, so it will not donate this electron to the carbonyl, and when the carbonyl will not get the electrons, there is no chance of forming the back bonding. So I have explained this back bonding phenomenon in detail. You can search in my lecture series. I have explained this thing there. So when back bonding is not there, in that case, when back bonding is not there, that means metal actually giving electron to the carbonyl. When this is not there, that means the complex would be very unstable. This actually I have explained in one of my earlier lecture. If you want to know this thing, I can explain you again. Say this is nickel, okay guys, and say this is carbonyl, this is carbonyl. I am taking the example of this one, and one halogen I am putting here and another halogen I am putting here, and of course 2 negative is there. So they are forming the sigma bond, and of course they are electronegative, so they will suck the electron density towards themselves due to the minus I effect. So it is electron deficient now. Electron deficient. When it is electron deficient, that means it will not donate electron to this carbonyl. That means metal carbonyl bonding would not be there. Back bonding would not be there. Okay. When back bonding would not be there, that means these compounds would be quite unstable. This is something very, very important to note that. But on the other hand, if you have some other kind of the compounds, like if you have, say if you have this AuCO Cl3, say you are having this gold compound. I have prepared this compound earlier, and say you are having your platinum CoCl2. They are quite stable, right? Why they are stable? What is the reason behind this? See, these like your gold, platinum, silver. See, they are having actually a very high effective nuclear charge. They are having very high effective nuclear charge. Okay, and their electronegativity is also very, very high. Generally, see, we cannot say the electronegativity of the metals, but if you compare the electronegativity of these with these one, this carbonyl and the nickel, so they are having the high electronegativity. So what will happen? They are having the high electronegativity, they are having the high effective nuclear charge, so they will actually suck the electron towards themselves, and the electrons would be there. And when electrons are there, then there is always a chance to form the metal carbonyl bond. And when this metal carbonyl bond is formed, then the stability actually would increase. So in both the in this way you can explain this one, right? So this is something very, very important, right? Very, very important, you should remember. And this, see, certain also some ligands are also there which can stabilize the compound, like triphenyl phosphine is also there. See, if triphenyl, see, this particular compound is quite stable. CO3 IPPH3. This compound is particularly stable, right? Why it is stable? Because this triphenyl phosphine is a very good sigma donor and a very weak pi acceptor. Good sigma donor and weak pi acceptor. So what will happen? It will facilitate actually this kind of the bond, metal to carbonyl, pi bonding. Okay, so this will stabilize this complex. So this see, in this way you can rationalize actually the stability of these complexes, right? You may also see, generally if you want to decide the stability of them, then one thing you should keep in mind: these halogens are electronegative, and all this can actually reduce the electron density from the metal, which actually reduces the back bonding, and the back bonding is not there, then the complexes would be unstable. And if back bonding is there, then the complexes would be stable. Okay, so these are the some of the physical properties which you should know actually. Now lastly, within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I'll complete the chemical properties. Okay, so in the center I am writing, say, my manganese along with some halogen, and I'm having my 5 carbonyls. Okay, so different kinds of the reaction I'm doing, and my first reaction, say, just like that, I'm having CO4 with the negative sign. Okay, in that manner. So this is a nucleophile. So actually this will actually undergo the SN kind of the attack. It will attack from the back side. So this is the it is SN kind of the reaction. So when this happens, this is nucleophile, and this metal actually is the electrophile. So it will attack here. Your X will remove from here, and your compound would be manganese along with this CO bonding, and 4 of carbonyls are there, and 5 carbonyls were already there. So you can form this particular compound. See, that's why these halides are very, very important, because these X are very good leaving group, especially your iodide, bromide. They are very good leaving group, and we can very easily substitute this X with the other ligands. So we may prepare the variety of the compounds. Okay, and then say, for example, I'm having this anion. I'm having this CP anion, cyclopentadiene anion. Okay, dienyl anion. Okay, so if you have this one, so what you can do? You can put this here, and you can write manganese here. Okay, and of course your 3 carbonyls, CO, CO, and CO. Of course, one would be below the plane, okay, and other would be above the plane. This compound you can prepare, and you can see the hepaticity is changing here. In that case, it is attached with the 5 here and 1 here. Hepaticity is 6. Okay. And in that case, 5 here, 6, 7, 8. Here hepaticity is 8. So apticity is also changing. Okay. So this is one way. And then you can take another example. Say for example, I'm reacting with this particular complex. Say I'm reacting with this aluminum chloride. This is Lewis acid. Okay. And I'm providing this carbonyl atmosphere to it. Okay, and what will happen? It will result in a different kind of the complex MnCO6 times, and of course your halogen will remove, and see this actually AlCl3 will remove this halogen from here, and you will have AlCl4 negative. So this is another compound which you can form here. And one more thing, this can also react with the Grignard reagent. Say you are having your RMGX, RMGBr actually, not X, you can take the Br also. So in that case, you know the magnesium is bivalent. So one Br and one Cl or one X from here will knocked out. And what compound it will result? It will give you Mn. Okay, there is no problem in that. Okay, and then one R actually will go to this complex. So you can write R here. And of course 5 carbonyls are there. So in all the cases, what you are doing, you are substituting your halogen sometimes with R, sometimes with carbonyl, okay, and sometimes with this cyclopentadienyl, and sometimes with other complex anion. So you are doing the variety of the reaction actually, okay. And finally, so finally what I can take, say if you heat this compound, so it will remove one of the carbonyl from here and it will form a bridged compound. So manganese is here and another manganese is here, right? And one of X and one of X. So they will actually form in that manner. This bridged compound would form, and of course the carbonyls would there. 4 carbonyls here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and similarly 4 carbonyls here. CO, 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 CO. So you can form the dimers, you can form the alkyl substituted compounds, you can substitute the X with the carbonyl, you can substitute X with the R, you can do variety of the reaction. That's why the applications actually are very, very important. So instead of writing the reactions of these compounds, I should write the applications actually. So these are the some of the important applications, right? So before ending this particular lecture, I'm going to explain one more very important reaction. Say I'm having this compound FeCO4I2. This complex I am having, and I am reacting this with triphenyl phosphine, right? Or you can take the pyridine also, okay? Not necessarily that triphenyl phosphine, you can also take the pyridine, and it will result in this compound FeCO whole twice 2 times iodine and PPH3 whole twice. Okay, this 2 I have taken here, so 2. So what are the changes? 2 carbonyls here, 4 carbonyls. Okay, 2 carbonyls will be gone from here. So this is another very important kind of the reaction. So not only actually this can do this reaction. If you have another kind of the compound, say you are having this complex, right? Say you are having Mn, you are having CO4, and you are having I, and you are having the dimer of this one. I'm not going to draw the structure. And if you are treating with this pyridine, so I can take the example of the pyridine. So what will happen? It will form MnCO4 I Py, okay, and 2, so 2 I can take here. So this is the one kind of the substitution. And if you remove, see, if you add 2 of the pyridine again here, so 2 of the carbonyl will be knocked out from here, 2CO, and you will have the compound MnCO3 I Py whole twice. Okay, so in that case 2 4s are 8 carbonyls were there. Now you are having 2 3s are 6 carbonyls are there. and two pyridine were already there. Two pyridine were, came from here, so 2 to the 4. Okay, and two of the magnesium were there. So this is another important reaction which you can take into the account, or when deciding, when actually you are discussing the reactions related to the transition metal carbonyl halides. Okay, and one more reaction. Okay, I'm taking here actually. Okay, this particular reaction. Say you are having eta 5, that means hepaticity is 5, cyclopentadienyl. You are having this one, and you are having iron Fe, CO whole twice Cl, and you are reacting with this sodium salt of your cyclopentadienyl. So what will happen actually? Your halogen would be replaced by this with this Cp. Okay, so what will happen? This sodium and this Cl, they will remove the NaCl from here. Of course, you have to take the tetrahydrofuran as solvent, and the compound would result what? The compound that would be result would be eta 5 Cp, right? That means iron is connected with all the 5 carbons of your cyclopentadienyl ligand. Okay, and of course 2 carbonyls were there, so you can write 2 carbonyls here. Okay, and then your eta Cp. So in that case, here was 5 and here Cp actually minus, so that means hepaticity is only 1. So in that case you will write the eta 1. Okay, so hepaticity is 5, which is already there, which was already there in the complex, and it is having the hepaticity of 1, so it is connecting within in that manner. So this is how you can actually synthesize these compounds, right? If you want, you can take the quick recap. These were the some of the preparative methods, and then I have discussed this Vasquez complex, which is very very important for examination point of view, and then I have discussed some of the structures, how to draw them, and then I have discussed the properties and the reactions of all these compounds. Okay, so this is all about your halides, transition metal carbonyl halides. Okay, so in this particular lecture, few things are very very important for the competitive examination point of view, but for MSc students it is very very important. Okay, I have summarized lot of literature here, and I have searched this literature from the various sources. Okay, and in the next class I'll try to take nitrocells. Okay, TMC nitrocells. Okay, so that's it for today guys. Thank you very much.